So let me ask you, what's your addiction? For many years in my life, I was addicted to different things. For a good part of my life, it was alcohol. I was a weekend binge drinker for many years. And I didn't realize I was a binge drinker or it was a problem and until I was put on medication when I found out I had Lyme disease. And my doctor told me on these antibiotics you can't drink alcohol. And I said, so just I can have a little? He's like, none. And when he said that, it really kind of knocked the wind out of my sails because that's what I had done for every weekend for probably about 20 years at this point. And it was such a big part of my life. And I had done it so long, I'd never really thought of it as a problem, even though on the weekends I was always hungover and those hangovers would actually bleed into Monday and sometimes even Tuesday. And I was really unproductive on the weekends. I would spend a lot of time chilling on the couch, watching TV, or just kind of lounging around. I was into DJing at the time, so I'd do some DJing. But I wasn't really as productive as I could have been. And I remember driving home from work after I had stopped drinking the first time, and my mouth would literally be salivating at the thought of drinking alcohol, and knowing that I couldn't drink it. But I would literally be salivating, and I'd be good for a while, and I'd actually have some progress with my health, and then I'd give myself permission to have a drink, and that one drink would turn into 2 or 3 drinks, and this went on for a while. And I finally had the realization that this was more of a harm to me than a benefit. And once I finally stopped drinking, that had such a huge impact on my health and my recovery. And there have been other addictions too. Different drugs, porn at times, Netflix series, always needing to find that new series of shows to watch. And in reflection, most of these addictions were about avoidance, escape. I drank a lot because I didn't like my job. I always felt really stressed during the week. And on the weekend, that was my time to escape. So Friday and Saturday night, they were big party nights. With Netflix, that was just kind of avoidance. I wasn't happy in my marriage, and one thing to do to not have to kind of deal with my marriage is just sit down and watch TV, where you don't really have to interact with each other. With porn, it was, that was kind of an off and on thing. It wasn't ever a long-term thing, but at times in my life when I was really lonely, I would turn to porn. And all these various addictions, who knows how much harm they did to me. They did a ton of physical harm to me. And I'm convinced that's why I lost my health, because due to drinking, I had a lot of late nights. And I was a night owl. Even though I didn't really drink heavily during the week, I tended to stay up late. On the weekends, I tended to stay up really late because I was into the whole club scene. So I'd be out till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning partying, and that had a huge impact on my health. Watching all those Netflix shows, porn, stuff like that. Who knows what kind of a psychological impact that had on my health. And you might just be thinking, oh, Netflix, it's just TV. But there's a lot of programming that goes into modern shows, and there's always an agenda behind a lot of these shows. And I don't want to get to conspiracy theory, but it's something to be aware of. And since I've kind of cut the cord, I actually have a blog post why I kicked Netflix to the curb. And I still have my Netflix subscription, but I really don't use it very much. Occasionally I watch a movie, and I have maybe 2 series that I still watch that come out like every 18 months. So I've really significantly cut down my TV, and I don't consider myself having an addiction because sometimes I'll go weeks without really watching any TV. And same with all my other addictions. The first step was I became aware that I had an addiction, and the second step was just to have the realization that it was doing me more harm than good, that I was better off without these things in my life than having them in my life. And usually when we're addicted, lots of times, A, we're not aware of it, and B, we think it's giving us more of a benefit than not having it in our life. But when you really take some time to look at these addictions and the behaviors behind them and how it robs you of time, you're doing this instead of other things that maybe you'd much rather be doing, that can have a really big impact on the quality of your life. So 2 things that really helped me with addictions. Number 1 is learning about dopamine. So dopamine is one of your neurotransmitters. It helps you with drive, with motivation, with good thinking. And lots of times, if you've ever been in what's called a flow state, where you effortlessly do things and time just kind of really flies by, but dopamine is one of the major neurotransmitters that's behind that. And when you have low levels of dopamine, that increases your risk for addiction. So in our society today, it's a very low dopamine society. We have a lot of addictions. Another one of my addictions in the past has been social media. And I still have a mild addiction to social media. Twitter's my weakness. I'm way better than I used to be. But a lot of us today are hooked on social media. We can't go a day without checking our Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, whatever. A lot of these ones I don't really know about, but I know they're popular, especially with younger kids and things. But a lot of people are just really addicted to these things and their phones. And I'm pretty addicted to my phone. I check my phone a lot. I use it a lot for a lot of different things. Some are productive and some are less productive. But I am very aware of that. And sometimes, lots of weekends, I'll just go on a digital detox, and I'll only use my phone if I have to make a phone call or something like that. But I won't spend a lot of time looking at the screen and just doing random stuff on my phone. So here's my point. Dopamine. Doing these things, going on social media, that actually robs you of dopamine. The reason that I like to drink is because having a drink, that would actually give me a hit of dopamine. But I wasn't doing anything to build it back up. And that's the case with a lot of these addictions. When you do these different things, when you take these different drugs, when you when you watch a TV show and then all of a sudden you see the next one's going to start in 15 seconds, these are all things that are giving you little hits of dopamine. And what happens is when you're not doing things to build up dopamine, you're always looking for that next fix. You're always looking for that thing that's going to give you that one more hit of dopamine, and that can get you in a lot of trouble. So I have a lot of other videos where I really talk about things you can do to naturally increase your dopamine in a healthy way. And if you think you have an addiction, if you know you have an addiction, check those out. And doing those things to naturally increase your dopamine is going to be a really huge help. So that's number 1. Number 2 is self-image. When I was dealing with my healing and recovery, I worked with several different coaches. And one of the things I really learned is, this thing called our self-image, which really kind of drives our thoughts, which drives our behaviors, which drives our actions. And I had drank for so long, part of my self-image was I drink to let loose. I also drink to celebrate. So pretty much, I also drink if I'm under stress. So pretty much, no matter what happened in my life, the weekend would roll around, I'd want to let loose. What did I do to let loose? I drank. I was stressed. What would I do to combat stress? I would drink. If I was depressed about something, what would I do? I would drink. If I had a big win at work or something else that happened, what would I do? I would celebrate. And the only difference with when I would celebrate is maybe I would spend a little bit more money on the booze. Instead of getting a $50 bottle of wine at dinner, maybe I'd get a $100 bottle of wine at dinner. And then some grappa, or I used to love grappa. And then maybe some grappa to finish the night off. But that was part of my self-image. So pretty much no matter what happened the way I would deal with that or celebrate that was through drinking. And I'm not saying never have a celebratory glass of champagne or wine. And I do drink today. I just don't abuse it. I don't drink to the point of getting drunk and blacking out. And it's more for the taste. I do enjoy wine. So just being totally transparent with that. But learning about my self-image, these different thoughts that were driving these behaviors and these actions, and learning how to change them were a huge part in my growth as a person, in my healing, and in breaking free of these addictions. Because the self-image of a healthy person, that would never be a part of their self-image, to abuse their body by drinking to the point of blackout or just being really, really drunk, so you'd have a hangover the next day. Because a healthy person would think, well, I can't be healthy if I wake up feeling like crap and can't do anything. So something else to really explore and look at is your self-image. And another reason that I really learned about self-image, just had a timer on, I had to turn off. My laundry's done. But another reason that I really explored self-image is because I had made probably about an 85% recovery from Lyme disease. And then I found out that my wife, she's now my ex-wife, was having an affair. And I was completely devastated. And so what did I do? What was my self-image at the time? When met with a big obstacle or depressed about something, I turned to alcohol. And I had been dry for a while. I had been really healthy. I'd been feeling great. But I had this huge thing happen in my life. And the only way I knew how to deal with it, or at least I thought at the time, was through drinking. And guess what? I started drinking. I started a lot of my other bad habits. Started watching Netflix again. Staying up late. Lots of times I was doing this alone. And what do you know? And within 2 to 3 weeks, a lot of my symptoms started coming back. And then a month or two later, I was pretty much where I started. Not quite all the way there, but pretty much. And finally, a buddy of mine called me out. He called me a pussy. Called me a fucking pussy, actually. Because every time he would talk to me, I would just whine to him about my life, and I can't believe my ex cheated on me, and blah blah blah, cry me a river. And that really woke me up when he called me out like that. And I made some positive changes. I got back on track. I got my health back. And then I started working with coaches, and I learned about self-image. And that's why I ended up making what I call self-image design one of the core elements of my coaching program. Because what I realized is, my challenge was my self-image, and until I changed my self-image, I could have all the knowledge in the world, but if my self-image had these bad behaviors, these bad beliefs in it, I was always going to be stuck. I would always have these things that would sabotage my success and derail me. So something to look at is your self-image. If you find yourself repeating the same behaviors over and over, explore that and ask yourself how you can change your self-image so you can break free of those beliefs that are keeping you stuck, that are derailing your progress. So I hope this helps. There is a link below if you'd like to set up a time for us to talk. The first session is free, and in that session I'm going to give you a plan that you can use to help you go from wherever you are, whether it's dealing with an addiction. Most of the people I help need some help with their energy, with their health. So if you struggle with your energy and you need a plan for what to do to go from being low energy to high energy, you're going to get that plan. You're going to get a crystal clear vision of your major challenges, the things in your life that are holding you back. And that's going to be a really huge help. And you're going to leave the call invigorated with a new sense of energy and hope that you can turn things around. So if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. I do check, and sometimes it takes me a couple days, but I do respond to most comments. And I'll see you on the next video.